Welcome to Stress Mess, a stressless podcast where the chaos is real, the caffeine is strong, and swearing sometimes happens, and that's okay. I'm Samantha Elizabeth, health and wellness coach, chronic overthinker, and proud BFFs to stress itself. Here we're ditching perfection, embracing unfiltered real talk, and making mindset shifts that might just keep us from screaming into the void. Let's get messy. Hey guys, welcome back to Stress Mess, a stressless podcast. I am Samantha Elizabeth, the OG stress mess. I call myself that not because I want to be a stress mess, but because in reality, I have a lot of cortisol running through my body at all times. I am medically diagnosed a stress mess. Welcome back, or welcome if you are joining us for the very first time. This is technically season 2 of Stress Mess, although I'm not going to call it season 2. It's just a continuation. Welcome to episode 5 of Stress Mess. If you watched Stress Mess before, you know that the format was a little longer. And it had a formula. Talk about your stress, talk about your stress management, tell us a funny story. And now this new season of Stress Mess is going to be a lot different. Oh gosh, I'm calling it a season again, but it doesn't matter. I kept getting asked if I was going to bring Stress Mess back. I know that people enjoyed the show before and I enjoyed doing it, but gosh, Louise, I enjoyed hosting and recording and doing all of that kind of stuff. But if you produce a podcast and you don't have any help, you're doing it all yourself. Of course, you're going to rely a lot on your technology. And I'm going to say, ironically, Stress Mess before was a lot of stress, but now I've got great tools and everything. If you want to learn about how to podcast and everything, even if you have some tips for me, awesome. Please email me at stressmesspodcast, all one word, at gmail.com. I'll be happy to take any advice that you guys have for podcasting, especially if you've been podcasting for a long time. Or if you want to get started on podcasting, I'd be more than happy to help you with that. Anyway, this new season, if we want to call it that, is a whole new vibe on Stress Mess. And it's going to include shorter episodes. We're going to do some real talk. I'm going to have guests, of course, on this. Of course, this is the episode that I call Solo Mio. And I'll talk a little bit more about why I call it Solo Mio. But I wanted to talk today about a couple of things. One is that I wanted to talk a little bit more about coaching. And then I also wanted to, because I'm a coach, hello, talk a little bit about my journey there, just a little bit. I'm not going to bore you guys or anything with that. But I also do want to talk about a new program that I have coming out in August of 2025 that I'm really excited about. And the reason why I wanted to talk about both of these things is because I think it's really helpful for a lot of people to understand those things, and not to be self-serving or anything like that, but I think it's just going to help some people, to understand what coaching is. Of course, in true fashion, you can hear this, I've got a script that I'm going to kind of work off of, but my goodness, I am not a script person. If you guys know me, I go off script quite a bit. So first of all, I want to touch upon what is coaching, just very, very briefly about that. And the reason why is that there's some context behind it of why I'm talking about it. So I've always been that friend that a lot of people talk to and sit down and have deep conversations with. And it's because I'm just naturally an empath. I'm just naturally somebody that people want to talk to, divulge secrets to, all of that kind of stuff. So for the next 30 minutes, I'm going to tell everybody's secrets. No, I'm just joking. I'm not going to do that. I'm not that kind of friend. But actually, that is something that you take on as a coach, is that you get into conversations with people. People pour their heart out to you. They divulge secrets to you. They tell you all sorts of wonderful things, about them, some embarrassing things, some ways that they're stuck and everything. And you're there to help them to work through those things, to ask really powerful questions to be able to help them move forward. But I did want to talk that's not counseling, though. Coaching is not counseling or therapy. It's also not a mentorship. A mentorship is a formal relationship that you have with somebody. And your mentor is normally somebody that has experienced or information that you do not have as the mentee. And so that therefore you're getting information from them that's going to help you in your career or whatever you're working on that you need a mentor in. With therapy or counseling, that is where it is taking you from where you are today in healing your past. And that is a lot of what you can kind of consider in some cases, and some coaches that have trauma bond experience or help people, work through issues in their past to be able to move forward. So coaching is really kind of taking you from where you are today and helping you to move forward. And the reason why I'm bringing all of this up in context is because I really wanted to talk about the kind of coaching that I do. First of all, you are not, as a coach, supposed to give advice. You can certainly give examples. You can certainly talk about examples from your own life and what you did or what somebody else did to move forward. But it's really up to that person to make a decision on that. And when I was a brand new coach, man, I was doing a lot of advice. I was saying, oh, well, so and so did this, so you should do this, and having them try different things. But all of those kind of things weren't coming from an internal type of motivation. It was coming from an intrinsic motivation, an external motivation. And that's something that's not helpful within coaching. You need to help them find the internal motivation to be able then to move forward. So that's something that I really learned in coaching quite a bit. I bring all of this up in context because I know I saw a meme the other day that just made me laugh so hard, because as a teenager, you tell your parents, don't tell me what to do. You even look at, older people and you think, oh, they're kind of stuck in their ways and everything, and don't tell me what to do. But the meme says, me now, could someone tell me exactly in chronological order and with great detail what I have to do? And that is so true. And coaching helps you a lot with that. In coaching, though, your coach is not going to tell you exactly what to do because everybody's different. What works for one person might not work for another person. And plus, on top of that, as a coach, you already believe that your coachee has the answers within inside themselves. And so you're really helping them to make those discoveries. So with my coaching, I work with people on creating a vision for their future. I work with them to find out where are they today and then help them to break down all the steps in order to get there, or at least the next step that they can move forward with. And then I keep them accountable for that. And all this to say, because I'm starting a new coaching program in August that I'm really excited about, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about that. So, if you know me personally, you do know that I have had a couple of relationships, and those relationships weren't the best relationships. Let's just say they were a little toxic, on the toxic side. And there was things that I did in the relationship that weren't the best for me or for the other person. And there were things that they did in the relationship also that were not good at all. And I wanted to particularly talk about one of the relationships that I had and a lot of what I learned from that relationship, and then also what I learned about myself from that. So, a long time ago, the galaxy far away. No, no, just a long time ago, I did have a relationship, and this person was a very controlling person. They financially controlled me. I had to walk on eggshells with them. They were very passive aggressive about a lot of things in my life, including how much I ate, what food I ate, the friends that I had, and my independence altogether. And I was left very exhausted. I was working 2 full-time jobs with them because they always complained about that we did not have enough money. And they kept me very isolated from people and did a lot of emotional manipulation. They were very sneaky in this, though. So it wasn't something that, like, oh, geez, like this is from day one. And how did I allow myself to live like this? But it was something that snuckily, I don't even think that's a word, but let's just pretend it is. It kind of was sneaky about how it came on. It was very slow, very gradual. They made me believe things about myself, like I was just some dumb girl, and that I needed somebody to guide me. And they became kind of like my parent. And I didn't want that. I didn't want my significant other to become my parent, but they almost did that. And I was bringing up these things to them and saying, hey, I don't particularly like that. But they were like, no, 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 very passive aggressively trying to get me to move in the direction that they wanted me to move in all the time. So I was trying to talk to my friends, the friends that they would allow me to have. And when I was talking to them and I was telling them about these things, and even going to family members and saying, hey, like, this doesn't feel right, and before we knew what red flags were in a relationship, it just did not feel right. But my friends and my family members kind of all shut me down and said, and that sounds normal to me. And it wasn't normal, though. And I was embarrassed by it because as a young adult, I was an adult, and I was embarrassed that I was allowing somebody else to control me so much. But like I said, it was very sneaky, and a lot of people get themselves into situations like this. And it's kind of like Stockholm syndrome. And you fall in love with your captor and, and that sort of thing. So when I ended that relationship, of course, as somebody that is very controlling and doesn't see what they're doing to you is creating trauma, they, of course, said that they were blindsided at that time. They were completely blindsided. And like I said, it's because that person never saw what they were doing as wrong. They saw it as that they were helping me and, that they were doing that. But it wasn't helpful to me to have somebody so controlling. And so, of course, when I officially broke off the relationship and it was a divorce, kind of situation, they went completely cold to me and they started a smear campaign against me and told my family members and my friends horrible lies about me. And it was really hard because the little friends that I had that they'd allowed me to have and the connection that I had with my family, I lost everybody completely. And I was completely alone at that time. I didn't have anybody really to rely on at that time other than myself. And I was 22 years old. As a 22-year-old of somebody that was being controlled for so many years, and being told that they're dumb and they can't take care of themselves and had all of that control over them, that was something that was really bad for me at that time as a 22-year-old. But you know what? I stuck it out. And as far as not with the relationship, of course, but I persevered in my life and I rebuilt my life and I got new friends and, all of the things that could help. Because unfortunately, what happens in those kind of situations too is that they turn your friends against you. They play the victim. Like, they didn't do anything wrong and oh my goodness, that person's being so mean to me, and that's what happens. And also on top of that, they say that you're the crazy one, that you are acting this way and they don't know why are you acting this way. And unfortunately, we were high school sweethearts, so we didn't have any exes. And there was no one for him to call crazy. But I'm pretty sure that he moved on in his relationship to another relationship. I know he did. I'm pretty sure that he called me crazy to that person. But of course, they don't normally, unfortunately, recognize their own behavior and what they were doing in a relationship and the controlling nature that they had in a relationship. So I'm going to bring this to you because I bring this all in what coaching is, my formula for coaching, as well as this kind of situation. I do feel a lot of people were in this kind of situation or in this kind of situation, and you are thinking about breaking off the relationship, whether it's divorce or um, breaking up, with the person. Maybe you're living with them, whatever it may be. I know that people like that need help. And the reason why is because you could potentially also develop a pattern. So you have a relationship like that, and you break it off, and then you might move into another relationship that's similar. And it might feel different at first, but my goodness, some people can be very sneaky with their controlling nature. They don't come out right in a relationship, on a date and everything, and say, hey, by the way, I'm going to control you. I'm going to do it in a very slow progression and everything that you're really not going to notice it. And then pretty soon you're going to go, oh, well, hold on 1 second. I'm being controlled here. That happens. They're not going to do that though. And some people might not recognize their behavior as controlling. Heck, they maybe even would say, I'm not controlling. I'm not controlling at all. And that has happened to me too, where I have talked to somebody about being controlling, and they have told me that I should go tell my friends that they're not controlling. That's controlling in itself. So I didn't want to leave, if you are in that kind of situation where you are in a relationship and you just left, or you're in a controlling, kind of relationship, or maybe if you're just in a relationship that's not good for you anymore and you need to move on, I'm going to leave this with you. One is that the first thing that you need to do in that kind of situation is go no contact. Doesn't matter if they want to say they want to be friends. That has happened to me too. They say that they want to be friends, and oh my gosh, they're like a snake in the grass. And if you go no contact means block them on social media, block them on your phone, get rid of any kind of memory of them in your space. Clean up your space, clean up your digital clutter, all of that kind of stuff. That means no contact. And that also means don't text them, don't answer any text from them. Hopefully you've blocked them so you won't even see that they're trying to contact you. But that's all that's there. And that's going to really help you to hold space to honor your own grief. There's a whole grief cycle of if somebody breaks up, and even if you break up with somebody, there's that spark of change. And that spark of change is that shock, that initial shock. And like, yes, maybe if you had been planning on breaking up with this person, you were trying to find the right way to do it, to minimize the hurt, in the situation, but it happens. There is always that shock. There's always disbelief as well too. There's also, some kind of hope that you might be holding out, for them. There might be some frustration. There might be some anger, all of that kind of stuff. But hold space for your own grief in that too. Like I said, even if you were the initiator of the breakup, because there is going to be some emotions that bubble up for you. And so making sure that you also set boundaries with them and keep it too. And I know I haven't always done this the best in the past either. I did have an ex that wanted to say he wanted to remain friends. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, if that's going to help you to remain friends and everything, yeah, we can remain friends. But my problem is that I didn't set up any boundaries, and oh, they were in my stuff left and right. So setting boundaries and keeping them. Don't engage with that person. And then also going back to solo mio. So, one of the things that I started to do is I started to prioritize my self care. And one of the things that I was doing is doing solo mio trips and even solo mio staycations. Solo mio is means by yourself or something like that. I don't know. I started calling it solo mio, which just basically means a trip just for me, and where I would go on the weekends and I would go somewhere by myself and explore a new area. It was usually just like a driving trip of some sort. Do that. Go to the movies by yourself. Go do things by yourself or with friends, you know, and hopefully after a breakup, you still have your friends and you still have the people that you can talk to. And if you don't, that's okay, because I have been there before where, like I said, smear campaign. They told all sorts of wonderful lies about me, and my friends turned against me, believing them and saying, "Oh, geez, I can't believe you did all of that." And I'm like, "Did what? I did none of that." And that's what happens sometimes when somebody starts to play the victim, and everybody's just like, "Oh, that poor person." Especially if you've broken off the relationship, that person's going to see themselves as the victim and they're really going to lean into the whole victim mentality. So, yes, taking solo trips, solo things, going to the store by yourself, all of those kind of things, that's going to really help you to rebuild your confidence too. And also just making sure that you know your worth, you seek support too. And this is what we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. Seeking support is knowing that you're not alone. Friends, family, but most importantly, professional help as well too. Therapy, so important. I've been seeing a therapist for I don't know how long, and long time, since 6, 7 years or something like that. Anyway, the reason why I bring that up is because therapy really helps you to get out of your own head quite a bit and really to be vulnerable with somebody. And if you're completely honest with them, like you should be, and you're completely honest with yourself in turn, then that's going to really help you to figure out how to move forward. Because remember, what we talked about, therapy is saying, okay, hi, you're here for yourself, and you're going to work on your past traumas, your past experiences, all of that kind of stuff is going to come up so you are whole in your present. And then what coaching does, like I said, is it says you are already whole. We know you're already whole because there is evidence of that. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you from where you are as a whole person, and I'm going to help you find your whole self again. And I'm going to help you to move forward into your vision for the future, your goals, all of those kind of things. So, so sorry. African dust, getting over that within Houston here. So if you hear me coughing, that's just the African dust. Lovely, lovely. Anyway, I bring all this up because if you know me also, I am also a health coach. Also a health coach. I am a health coach. That was my niche that I chose. But I recently discovered for myself and for a lot of other people, and breaking the pattern of bad relationships and the men that I was choosing, and the relationships that I was choosing as well too. And as a coach, I already have a formula. I work on mindfulness, stress management, all of that kind of stuff. I work in environments, decluttering your space, decluttering your digital clutter, working on your relationships as well. I work on fitness and nutrition too. So, big announcement. Drum roll, please. I don't know. I'm doing one hand drum roll because I only have one hand. Oh, anyway, that was funny. Um, Big announcement. Okay, officially, I am starting a program called Your Post Breakup Plan, and it is all about how you are going to recognize the toxicity of the relationship that you were in. You're going to recognize your own behaviors, your own patterns, all of that kind of stuff within that particular relationship. I'm going to help you to build your confidence again, going to help you empower yourself with all of the things that you need to do for yourself in order to heal, in order to rise again from the ashes, if you will, of that last relationship. And so that way you can have a better relationship. You can have a healing relationship. You can have that kind of relationship that you actually want. And so I am starting with Empower and Rise Coaching. I'm starting that program called Your Post Breakup Plan. And it is to be helpful and helping you to discover yourself again, discover that kind of perfect relationship, perfect for you, kind of relationship that you want, and being able to be healed. There was a quote that I heard the other day, and that is, if you do not heal the wounds that somebody else might have created, you're going to bleed onto others. And I know that there's a lot of people that need that time to heal. They need that time to be able to figure out who they are again, to be able to rise up and to be able to do that. So, Empower and Rise Coaching is doing a new program called Your Post Breakup Plan. So, if you are interested in that, I'm going to have the link out there pretty soon. I'll have it in the show notes too. If you are interested in joining that program, there will be group coaching with that. There'll be one-to-one coaching. There will be self-coaching, all of those kind of things to help you. And it's not just for people that have recently gone through a breakup or about to go through a breakup or that are going through a breakup. It's also for people too that maybe broke up quite a while ago and you're still reeling and you're still trying to heal and you're really trying to move on and it's been really hard for you. So it's for all of those kind of people. I have friends that recently have done some breakups and I want to see a good program for them to help them to be able to get through that because geez, that's exactly what I needed. I needed several years ago to be able to break the cycles that I had. So anyway, please email me stressmesspodcast@gmail.com. That's the email address for the podcast. The link to sign up for to get on the list for your post breakup plan will also be out there too. Go to SamanthaElizabeth.com. That's my website address. There's going to be a lot available for you pretty soon, and I will make announcements through the podcast. So this is not one of those podcasts that you're just going to have to hear about me and what's going on in my life or anything like that. There will be a guest. So very, very exciting. I am so excited to bring you a whole new season, I'm not sure, of Stress Mess, the Stress Less podcast. So please tune in next week, and I will actually have a guest next week, and this podcast is going to be amazing. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Talk to you later.